I know you have a podcast, so that's, of course, an area that I'd love for people to tune into. As you were talking earlier, before remembering you had a podcast, I was like, gosh, the way that you speak is, it's very intriguing. You said you have read C.S. Lewis, but it's very much has that poetic, and curiosity is evoked in every word, because I know it's layered with the Lord, because it's layered with the studies, and that's where the theology piece comes to what you're putting together. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I appreciate that. No, yeah. So we did a podcast. It's weird. It's still being listened to, and we haven't recorded in a year because the roof caved in. And so I'm really grateful that people around the world are still listening to this podcast, and we're going to be doing like an emergency break-in episode, and then we're launching a new podcast called Reformational Maker that will broadcast out of the Maker Institute, just as a slight pivot and continuation of what we were doing with the Shako Art Speak podcast, but the education piece. So in education. So one of the things that's really important to me, and I think is crucial, is when people go to college, like you said, they're being loaded with debt, and they're being catered to. Like I could do a whole podcast on the demise of secular education, because I was so deep in leadership responsibilities and a lot of meetings and conversation that would be very eye-opening for parents, and it's a burden for me. It's like why I had to leave. I couldn't be there anymore. It's not a neutral place. It's always combative. So, but education is unto the Lord. And with the Maker Institute, what we're doing is taking inventory of people's real lives, teaching them to thank God for it. So if you're like, I only have this much money and a closet, thank God for it and start there. He blesses the suggestive nature of the things he's given you as you cultivate them beyond the boundaries and limitations of what they are. And so that's part of the faithful fail forward. So as you faithfully fail forward, he opens up more for those, because more is a blessing, but it's a responsibility, which is why your character needs to be intact. Otherwise, he loves you enough not to bless you.
That's right. That's good.
Right? He's entrusting with more responsibility. But also, we want to teach people to integrate their doing and their learning into the whole of their lives, so they're not compartmentalized. So they can be moms and dads and grandparents and sons and daughters and have jobs, not have jobs. Whereas, so that you're learning to grow in your real circumstances, not in a institutional timeout at a 4-year college, per se, where you're not actually taught how to integrate this stuff into your life. And so what happens is 70% of art graduates quit after their first year of out of art school. And of the remainder, they go to grad school. Out of that, 90% quit. So a small 10%, which is really like 3% of the whole, 4% end up like me. They're working artists that are professors.
Yep.
And then the smaller percentage works in adjacent fields. And then like 0.8% actually is like uber successful, making the money.
Sure.
So I don't think any of that is what God has as a vision for Christians.
Agreed.
I don't think it at all. But if we don't cast the vision and live it ourselves, then people can't choose it. That's the nature of the church. We need to be salt and light people.
That's huge.
So we have to be visible. We have to be light. We have our commission in the garden is to drive out darkness.